All right, so we're live. We're live with a lot of questions, a lot of questions for the community. But I absolutely love this. Like that's why we did it in the first place. We want to have a bunch of questions. We want people to help each other. So like we're gonna go over the questions today, me and Cal, and like we want to have those keep coming as much as possible, but also have everyone interacting with each other. So thanks for everyone who asked questions. Hopefully a lot of these answers are going to make sense. But before we get going, Cal, do you want to mention something, or do you have something to add?
Yeah, just for like little technical things, like Frank said, we're going to try to get to every question. Obviously, things are going to get busy. There might be an influx of questions, which is great. We love that. But that's when we'll do this. So if your question kind of goes unanswered on the community, don't think that we're ignoring you. We'll probably just end up scheduling one of these so that we can kind of bulk answer. And we wanted to give these a try too because we can give more detail when you're talking versus just like one little paragraph text here. So I think this will be awesome for you guys, and some of you might be watching from here, but they'll be posted in the masterclass recordings too, so you can always reference this back when you guys go. So without further ado, we can start with the first question. It was, how can I monitor my hydration levels to ensure I'm not dehydrated? For example, is there any sort of basics I should follow when it comes to electrolyte management, water intake, etc.?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And to give you an example, I started working with a guy in the CCHL last year, and it's the first thing we changed. It's literally the first thing we did, and it made a huge difference in his energy. So he was drinking about a liter of water a day, and we bumped it up to about 3 liters, and then tweaked his intra-game, intra-practice hydration too. Made a world of difference. So the way I look at it, I'm gonna share my screen with you guys if I can, real quick. I just gotta find uh, in my notes the exact point that I want to share. Here it is. So hopefully this works and everyone can see well. This is a big mind map of all my notes together, but the first step is always going to be to assess. Are you hydrated? Are you dehydrated? So if you're able to know exactly if you're hydrated, well, obviously you're good to go. It's not just a number you give yourself, and my 3 liters of water might be not enough for Cal, for example, that's going to sweat way more than I do, not only during hockey, but throughout the day. So those are all things you should consider to get hydrated. So do you pee 7 to 9 times a day? Do you pee twice within an hour after a game of practice, or just exercise in general? What color is your pee? And then are you thirsty? And then we get into more specific biomarkers here that you don't need to know about. But then your weight from day to day, you wake up one day, you're 194, you wake up the next, you're 191. Well, it's not fat, it's not muscle, it's most likely your hydration. So that's something to keep an eye on. That would mean obviously you're dehydrated, and then your weight before and after workout is huge too. So you weigh yourself before you go on the ice, you're 194. You weigh yourself after the ice, you're 191. You lost 3 pounds. So a good rule of thumb is to drink back 125% or 150% of the water weight you just lost. So that would be about, if you lost 3 pounds, about 2 liters of water. And again, like drinking it pretty quickly, so you go to pee twice after your exercise, is going to be huge as well. So to get back to the question, number one's always going to be hydrated throughout the day. So a good rule of thumb is half your body weight in ounces. So you weigh 200 pounds would be 100 ounces a day. So 100 ounces is about 3 liters of water, but that doesn't account for the water you lose during exercise. So that's something to consider as well. And then when you exercise, you don't only lose water, you lose water and electrolytes, mostly sodium. So an easy way you can go about it is for every liter of water you drink, you add a quarter teaspoon of salt. So you replenish your sodium. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed, Cal, when you sweat, well, your sweat is salty, super salty, more in some people than others. So that's something to keep in mind too. So, like I said, it's super important to be hydrated, and you also have to consider, all right, daily hydration, in workout hydration, and then electrolytes to add back in. And I just made a post on Instagram. Actually, they made a post with me, and it's Adapt. A couple guys from Clarkson, shout out to them. They have a company called Adapt, and I'm partnering with them. So if you're looking for really, really good hydration supplement, look them up. We're going to link, we have the link in the community actually that you can take a look through, but that's a
Yeah, it's
really good
for
way.
those wondering, it's in the partnership discounts. You can check that out, and that's where you can go to their website, and there's a little discount code there too to get your Adapt stuff. But before you keep going, I wanted to, this can kind of tie into the next question is, along with Adapt and the electrolytes, you saying to add to the water. Someone asked a question about staying away from drinks such as Gatorade, Body Armor, BioSteel. Are there any other alternatives that are good to grab and healthy if I'm on the go? So kind of tying into that, what you're saying there, I know Adapt is one.
Yeah, yeah. Adapt, there's Relight, there's LMNT. So also good options. And then it's not like, I don't like saying Gatorade is bad or Body Armor is bad or BioSteel is bad. What makes something bad is taking it out of moderation. So if you have 4 Gatorades a day, then yeah, it's probably not good. But if you have one, the sugar is actually going to probably help you. It's probably going to help you feel your performance because your body needs the sugar to keep going. That's straight energy. That's simple carbs that your body's going to use to keep going. So I wouldn't say Gatorade is bad. I wouldn't say any of those things are bad. But if you start taking a bunch, it's probably going to be bad because they usually have artificial sweeteners too. And they can wreck your gut, for example. And a wrecked gut wrecks your immunity, wrecks your recovery, wrecks so many things that are important for you to perform and recover well. So it's not like, it's not bad. Again, it's the moderation. One thing I also really like, if you don't want to buy Adapt, for example, is to have coconut water and just add back salt to it. So a good ratio you want to aim for is about a 5 to 2 to 0.5 of sodium to potassium to magnesium. If you do that, you're giving your body what it needs to have a good balance of electrolytes so your body can function optimally and perform and recover.
So if you were to say, because I know there's a part of this question, and I'm actually curious too. Let's say you have a game and then you're right on the road and you stop at a gas station right after, and you know you need to hydrate. What would be your gas station grab and go? I know there's like the Gatorade Gator lights. I know there's a lot of those now, like those Pedialytes. Yeah, what would be your grab and go?
Pedialyte is a really good one. Like, yeah, it's got sugar, but there's a reason Pedialyte is used so much in the medical field. Like, someone's dehydrated, they give them Pedialytes because you need the carbs to absorb the water too. There's a reason they're called carbohydrates. Like, carbs hydrate you, so it doesn't matter what form of carb it is, even if it's straight sugar, they help you get hydrated. So it's not true that a drink with sugar is bad, especially if you're an athlete and you burn through it after a game, then your body's going to use it up. Like that's one of the things I tell all my athletes. Like after games, you need to eat and eat a lot, especially if it was a strenuous game of practice. Like you need to get the energy back in so that you can recover as fast as possible. So yeah, I would go Pedialyte. Coconut water is super easy to find too. And usually guys are gonna have like a pizza post game, and that's loaded with sodium. So you don't need to add back salt to your coconut water in that instance. Like your pizza is gonna have plenty, but really any other foods. A lot of restaurant food, they add a lot of salt, so you're usually pretty good in that way. So yeah, coconut water. You can grab a Gatorade. You can grab any of those things that were listed are pretty good. Obviously, my top choice would still be Adapto. That's the cleanest, and then you can go get your carbohydrates from healthier sources as well.
Nice. Love that. Yeah. I mean, I know for us, when you looking at like pro level, like we just had a game in Maine on Wednesday. We leave, we always stop at the rest stop 15 minutes after, and you're just staring at a bunch of stuff that you probably shouldn't be having post game. So that is a thing to know is, hey, like if you're on the go, either plan ahead so you know you have the right stuff, or know what to sift through from all that junk, especially at like gas stations and stuff. So
Yeah.
hopefully that helps. I know that honestly helps me. I'll probably start grabbing coconut waters. I don't know why I haven't thought of that for the gas station, but yeah. So that's pretty much it for kind of the hydration questions. Next one is, what are highly dense micronutrient foods to be having on a consistent basis?
So that's a really good question. I think there's a lot of stuff out there that, oh, you need to have superfoods. Blueberries are superfoods. I don't know. Avocados for a while were superfoods. I think it really all comes down to variety. If you eat the exact same thing every single day and it doesn't have color, you're missing out on micronutrients. You want to have a diet that's has a variety of color, of protein, of carbs, of fats, of veggies, of fruit. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna run you guys through 3 sheets that I give to all my athletes as a guideline to know exactly what to eat. So as you can see here, protein, like you know exactly what kind of protein you want to eat more of. So eggs, fish, chicken, duck. You even can go for kangaroo if that's something you're into. never had it. Any organ meats are really good. I've tried liver once, not my thing either. So, I mean, you can look through this sheet if you want to take a screenshot and keep it. Go for it. Um, but yeah, just having a variety of proteins gives you different micronutrients. Micronutrients are the vitamins and minerals that your body uses um, as cofactors for so many functions in your body, like energy, like muscle synthesis, all things that are essential for you to perform and recover. And then if we look at carbohydrates, same thing, like having a variety of these foods right here, a bunch of different types of grains, and then starches like sweet potatoes. As you can see, like they all have different colors. So sweet potatoes, orange, you're gonna go get vitamin C, vitamin A. They're amazing antioxidants. So whenever you work out, you push yourself and you create damage within your body. Well, with the orange and yellow foods, they're gonna come in and just fight that inflammation. That's what vitamin C and vitamin A does, and they're mainly found in orange and yellow foods. So super important to have. And then we got fats, so healthy oils, same thing. packed with antioxidants, extra virgin olive oil. The way I like to look at it, everything I do, what's gonna minimize all cause mortality the most? So there's a bunch of studies that come out that say, all right, exercise. If you exercise three times a week, your all cause mortality is going to go down by 25%. I'm just throwing a number out there. It might be more, it might be less. And then I'm trying to see, okay, what else has this effect? Because if your all cause mortality goes down, must mean it's pretty freaking good for you. And the other way around, if it increases your all cause mortality, like bacon, sausages. So you want to look at these, and extra virgin olive oil is one of them. Nuts and seeds are one of them too, packed with magnesium, potassium, all things that are really, really beneficial for you. And then last but not least, like the color in your veggies. Like I was saying earlier, orange and yellow foods, really good for vitamin C, vitamin A. But then white foods have different benefits, like mushrooms packed with vitamin D. You're inside all day during the season, you don't see sunlight. Mushroom gives you a little bit of vitamin D. Green foods, really strong antioxidants, and then B vitamins, rich in B vitamins. B vitamins are crucial for your energy. So you want to have a little bit of everything. It's not true that there's one better food than another. You want to have a little bit of everything. And that's why I tell all my athletes to make a bowl with one of each of these things I just showed you. And you just switch it every week. It's super simple, but you're grabbing all the micronutrients you need to perform well. So I think that answers pretty well that question. I think we can move on. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Cal.
No, I think that's great. I was just going to say for those nutrient documents, we'll get those attached and we'll put them in at the bottom of the recording. So when people go to the recording, they can check out those documents.
Perfect.
If they can't see them or if they wanted to see those a little further, but kind of going along in that same sense. The next question was, what are some of your guys' favorite pregame snacks? I'm currently looking to switch up mine a bit, but usually I go with those peanut butter crackers, blueberry Velveeta. I would say me, I go the classic Sidney Crosby PB&J. I know a lot of people do that.
Yeah, and I say this a lot because I saw an answer I think under that question where it was trail mix or something like that. And another funny story, I had a client last year, he didn't have any food, and right away not having any food is way worse than having anything. Like you're going through so much energy throughout your game. You need to replenish energy stores. So they can come from fats, they can come from carbohydrates, they can come from protein, they can come from any food. So any food is better than no food. And the goalie, I just asked them, like, what would be really good? What do you like eating that you can easily digest? Like I wrote here. I'm gonna try to color. I don't know if I can. It's not working, but I wrote it there on my sheet that I'm showing right now. Easily digestible foods, and he told me chocolate. So he was having like a bar of chocolate in between periods, and he's like, "Yeah, I feel fine." Is it ideal? Probably not. But again, it's energy. So that's the number one thing. But if you want to get into more depth and making sure you're giving your body what it needs, when you're exercising, your body's going to try to tap into easy sources. So it's going to go straight in your bloodstream. So you want to have something that's broken down, that's going to supply energy as quickly as possible. And simple carbs do this. So some examples are sugars. So honey, maple syrup, even table sugar is one of them. So when we're talking about Gatorade earlier, well, that's one of them. Like it goes straight in your bloodstream and your body can use it right away. And that's what we want. Whereas if you have a bag of nuts, it's straight fat, and it's harder to break down in your body. And fatty acids are way harder to assimilate and use as energy. So you want to go for simple carbs. So there's a list. We can link it to Cal if you want, but there's so many options here you can choose from. I wouldn't go for dairy. A lot of people don't digest it well, but again, you just get a bunch of different ideas here. Obviously, during a game, if you have pasta, probably not a good idea either. But like sugars, really good. And then, I mean, any beverages, super easily digestible. Anything that's going to be in the liquid form too, is going to be more easily digestible than any hard foods. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, I would just say like for me too, there's not really like a science, I guess, more behind it like that. For me, it's like, okay, what do I have available, or what do I know that I'll always have available,
Yeah.
or at least easy access to? And then from there, it was finding what was easily digestible. Like for me, I had a problem for a while of just like my stomach hurt during games. No matter what I do, I would take Tums in between periods every game,
Yeah.
and I just had to figure it out. And by the end of it, like I ended up figuring out if I just had a slice of bread with nothing on it in between periods, like that, just easy to digest, no like crazy flavors or anything, like it worked for me. So sometimes I just go grab a slice of bread from a loaf that I know is at the rig. So I think that's a big thing too that Frank mentioned is just what's easily digestible, what sits with you. Everyone's different. What sits with
Right.
you, right? And what's available. I guess again, kind of going to the other one is what would you say? Do you have like a go-to, Frank, for you personally for like a package, like something at the grocery store? Let's say like an actual packaged grab and go. I know because I know they mentioned the Belvita. Um, just curious if you had something that you would pick as a go-to.
Well, I think you mentioned it, Cal. Like peanut butter tends to be a bit harder for me to digest, but just like a bagel, like a plain bagel with honey or jam, that's straight carbs. Like jam is straight carbs, fruits, and usually they add sugar to it. So it's super easy to digest, and it's packed with carbs. Um, Rice cakes. I absolutely love rice cakes. That's a big one for me. Other than that, dates. Dates are huge. Bananas, like very ripe bananas. Watermelon. I love watermelon too.
What do you think of
Hydrating.
for the guys that might not have experienced or not have stuff available to them? I know it's kind of taken probably college and pro hockey. You see it everywhere. Is those honey stinger waffles?
Yeah. I mean, those are good. I like the gels. They're very simple too. I don't mind the honey stingers either. The waffles. I don't mind those either. What I did in college and looking back, I'm like, well, that was probably not the best idea. Just having a protein bar. Usually, protein bars are packed with like very average ingredients, and I would show up in the warm up in the first period, and I would have cramps every single game, and it goes to show it doesn't really matter because I didn't see it as an issue, and it helped me, like it gave me energy. But could it have been more optimal? Yeah. Could Sidney Crosby's routine be more optimal? Well, yeah. But at the same time, like you said, there's a mental part to it where you fall into a routine, and getting rid of that routine is going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. Like you're used to doing something, your body's used to eating certain foods, might not be optimal, but they work for you. So maybe just make a small change at a time. Like don't drastically change everything, one step at a time. Like consistency is key. And I guess before we keep going, that's something I should have mentioned at the start. But everything we mention, everything I'm ever going to mention, the one key component is for you to be consistent with it. Like nothing else is going to matter more than you being consistent with everything you're going to implement. So everything we go through today, don't go and just apply everything all at once. Like that's not sustainable. Just go one thing at a time and see how you feel, assess, and then maybe move on after that. If you see, okay, I got it set, it's now a routine, let's move on.
Yeah, and in that same sense too, we kind of mentioned it. You might not be able to do the best thing for you, but you might have to do the thing that you can do consistently. So, like, let's say this pregame snack. Let's say there's this magical protein bar that has all the perfect nutrients and everything, but you have to order it online, and it's $20 a bar. Like
Yeah.
you get it for your first 5 games, and then you're like, oh, I got to keep ordering this, and then you end up not getting it. You get it here and there for a game. Like, yeah, maybe that bar is better for you, but having the slice of bread with honey, you always have access to, and you can be consistent with. So just know those trade-offs. I think that's a big thing is what's you can be consistent. You might have to take some things off a little bit from being totally optimal to stay consistent.
And that's why when I talk, I'm so broad and I'm so vague, because I want you to understand the principle underlying why you're going to do something. Because when you encounter situations where you're missing an ingredient or you're missing something in your routine, you don't panic, because you know you can reach for so many other things in your environment that's going to give you the same kind of results. So focusing more on the principles than on the small tools and methods and superstitions are going to be so much more beneficial than trying to be perfect all the time with the same foods.
Love that. Everyone listen up. Frank knows what he's talking about. Next one. Looking to lean down and lose excess pounds. How do I find what my target goal should be for weight? Should an athlete be in a cut during the season? And if so, what should be the calories per day?
Well, there's no hard rules. Like I feel good at 9% body fat. Someone might feel good at 14% body fat. So first of all is again being aware of when do you feel good. Obviously, if you tell me I feel good and you're 23% body fat, I'm gonna tell you, yeah, you probably don't know what it feels like to feel good. So yeah, first thing is just being aware. Then I think a good rule of thumb is just body weight times 16. So for example, I'm 200 pounds times 16, whatever it is. I'm not doing math right now, but that would be my calories to start at. And then all you have to do is just weigh yourself every single day so that you know how your weight is trending. Are you losing weight? Are you losing too much weight? Because if you lose too much weight too fast, guess what? Your body needs the calories to perform. And if it's using up, if you're not eating enough calories, well, you're not going to have energy on the ice. And during the season, that's pretty suboptimal. So a good rule of thumb there too is if you lose more than 1% of your body weight per week, you're probably cutting too hard. You're probably cutting your calories too hard. If you're around 0.5%, I would say you're probably fine. But obviously, it'd be optimal to do it during the off season, and then just making sure you monitor your weight throughout the season so you don't gain a ton of weight. So yeah, body weight times 16, then track your weight every single day so you know how it's trending, and then you can make the changes necessary.
And I think too, just for any younger guys listening, like especially if you are younger, you're going to be growing, your weight's going to fluctuate a lot. So you won't necessarily know your perfect weight that you feel the best at. It might be a work in progress. So just know that, like, a personal story of mine is I came in as a freshman at Clarkson at like 180. That was my weight. And by coach was like, "Hey, we think you need to put on some more weight." I was like, "Okay, I agree." Went with the trainer by The start of my sophomore year, I was 217, and we looked at each other and he said, "Hey, we went too far. Like, let's pull back." And then I ended up landing in the 208, like, and I've been there since, and it's been like my weight that I like. So I think that just shows, like, I was in college and I didn't know my perfect weight, and was working with a trainer that we ended up finding it. You might not have that access, but know that you're gonna kind of find that weight through a little bit of a trial and error period, especially if you're growing too. So don't think like, hey, I need to be this exact weight. This is who, I don't know. We were talking about Crosby. Like, Crosby is this weight. Like, I should be that weight. Like, it's different for each player. So just know that it's kind of a molding thing that goes with you as you grow. Like, I know that I'm still getting older, so maybe I need to slim down a little bit more, or like it'll always change. So just know that too, and use what Frank said to just be aware of your weight, but know that it's going to kind of fluctuate as you go.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, kind of getting into some workout related questions. My team usually has 2 team workouts weekly, focusing on a full body basis, Tuesday and Thursday. How many days should I be working out well in season? And I guess I'm going to ask, we can revisit it if you need a reminder, but the other question that was asked was, how much should someone be lifting with 2 games on Fridays and Saturdays for the most part? Are there specific workouts a goalie should be doing? So that's kind of a similar question, is how many workouts during a season, type situation.
Yeah. For this question, I want to show a graph. First of all, there's no right answer. It depends what your goals are. If your goals are to gain muscle, um, obviously you're going to have to work out more. If you don't play your backup or your scratch, or you play 2 minutes a night, well, it might be an opportunity for you to push harder off the ice, so you actually cause an adaptation to be better, to increase your performance. So I'm gonna share my screen uh, again to show you a little bit of the interplay between stress and recovery. And I think this is one of the most important graphs you're going to see today. And I want you to remember it, because a lot of hockey players think, or any athlete for that matter, well, I shouldn't push too hard because I won't be able to recover and I'm not going to perform well. Well, you need some kind of stressor a little bit that you can recover from and increase your performance. So that's why I'm showing you this screen. So if you go in the gym, it's a stressor. But if you just push a little bit, well, you're not causing enough stress, and that's the yellow line. You're not causing enough stress to cause an adaptation down afterwards after you recover. So everyone thinks, oh, I'm not recovering properly, or whatever it may be. Well, cause a stressor. Let's say it's a game, and then recover well, and then your performance is going to end up going up. But if you push just a little bit and then you recover and push just a little bit, it's called the crab zone here. Like, nothing happens. Your performance doesn't go up. This being said, the amount of workouts I needed to do throughout the season to kind of keep my performance the same or to keep it going up was a lot, because my body was used to working out. Whereas if you're just starting out, or if you're working out twice a week, well, maybe for you, just adding an extra day is plenty. Obviously, the goal throughout the season is to recover and to optimize. You want to feel fresh so that when you show up the games, you're recovered and you're performing. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't push your body. And I think there was another question too, like what kinds of workouts goalies should do. I think that was one of them.
Yeah, that
And
was part of it.
yeah, I like the workouts, players, goalies, it's not really different. Like, you're in the gym to get stronger, to get faster. So the exercises are going to be very similar. You don't want to start doing um, exercises that are goalie specific. You're in the gym to get stronger and to prevent injuries. And the way you're going to do that is by like putting stress on your body so that your body needs to adapt and be like, okay, when I get a stressor on the ice, when I do a butterfly 800 times in the next week, well, I need to be able to recover. So I'll make all the muscles around my hips and knees really strong so that I can recover properly. So I mean, it depends on so many factors. Sure, you can work out twice. I would say 3, 4 times. It depends if you want to work out after every practice for 15 minutes, or maybe you want to work out uh, twice for an hour. I would say twice is the minimum so that you don't space them out too much and you get sore after every workout. When you do a little more of shorter workouts, your chances of not getting sore are greater. And the second you're not consistent anymore with your workouts, guess what? You're going to be sore and you're going to be like, well, I shouldn't work out. I get sore. Well, no, you get sore because you never work out. So fix the root cause of the problem. Don't blame working out. Just keep working out, keep adding weight, keep pushing pretty hard, like 80 to 85% of your 1 RM, your 1 rep max throughout the season. You're going to feel fresh. Your body's going to be able to recover. But yeah, you got to be consistent. It comes back to what I was saying earlier. Like you need to push the boundaries a little bit so your body adapts and that it recovers well and that your performance keeps going up. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, Cal.
Yeah, I know. Like you said, it's so hard to give you an exact
Yeah,
protocol. This is what you should be doing, but I guess just something to think about when it comes to, let's say you're worried about your recovery and working out too much. It's just maybe that means you need to work out right after a game. I know like that's the thing that pros have to do
yeah,
a lot. You hear about that in the NBA or whatever, because they play on Sunday and then they're playing again on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it may be. So maybe it's like, hey, we have a Sunday game in the morning, whatever your schedule is, you have to do a lift on Sunday as well so that you have time to recover. Um, that can be something that you switch up is like, hey, I'm just going to do more on these days versus kind of trying to find, hey, I do one thing a day. I have no time to work out. You might need to add in some stuff. Like Frank said, 15 minutes too. Like you're already warmed up after a game. 15 minutes won't take that long to bang it out. So just something to think of when you're thinking of your schedule. I know everyone's got different junior schedules if you're in college, juniors, wherever, but something to think about going forward when it comes to that type of stuff.
yeah.
Kind of jumping into that same thought process. What are the best ways to recover other than electrolytes, sleep, diet? How much time should we make each day to recover?
Yeah, well, I mean, like that question kind of answers itself. Like obviously you want to do all the foundations well. Like recovering is about hydrating well, sleeping well, um, eating well, protein, carbs, fats, like everything we just touched on earlier. If you haven't seen it, just go back. Then, did you talk about warm up, Cal, in that question? Or is that another
Warm
question?
up?
Yeah.
No, there's one after. The one after was about warm ups too. We can
Okay.
jump into that.
Okay. That's fine. No, I was just because the number was 5, so I thought you touched on that one too.
Oh.
But no, I think ultimately everything you're gonna do is between being and doing. So obviously, when you're in the gym, you're doing something, you're actively trying to be better, you're pushing your boundaries, and then you need to mix it up with some being. So you want to be as close to 50-50 as possible. So being is the mindfulness part of it. And when I talk about mindfulness, it's not meditation, it's not breathing, it's not yoga. It can be something as simple as going for a walk without your phone or just not having your phone at all on you, where you're forced to feel whatever is going on inside you. Like that's a form of recovery. When we talk about recovery, we talk about physical recovery, my hips, my knees, all that stuff, or an injury. But recovery is also mental, it's also emotional, it's also social. Spending time, let's say, like I'm a huge introvert and I go out in public day after day after day after day, going to drain my battery. I'm going to need to recover. How am I going to recover? By spending some alone time. So I spent so much time being around people. Now I got to balance it out with doing something that's refilling my cup, reading, journaling, going on a walk, going for a swim here in Tampa. It's colder now, it's a bit tougher, but yeah, you just got to balance those two things. There's no right answer. You got to be aware enough to know what makes you relaxed. That's the way you should look at it.
All right, yeah. So you touched on the next one a little bit here too, but as a goalie, hips, ankles, and joint health is essential for elite performance. Everyone hears about dynamic stretching, foam rolling, etc. However, what else should be added to get these muscles firing and ready to go before on ice warm-ups?
So a lot of what I use in my coaching and what I did and what I still do running is backed by science. I try to find the best in their fields at what they do. And this is one of those protocols that I've used. And to be honest with you, before looking it up, I had no idea that my protocol was similar to a protocol that's super well known by a doctor. So you want to look at four things. So raise, activate, mobilize, and potentiate. So those are the four steps you want to look at when you warm up to be ready to go. So the way I wrote it, and you can see it on the right here, I'm gonna zoom in. So you got your activation. So it's the first two steps here of the raise and activate. So you want to get your heart rate going, so the blood flow starts going. You're getting more alert, and then activate. So doing things like front lunges, side lunges, back lunges. Maybe it's a bike, like a zone 2 bike for 10 minutes, like jogging, some push-ups. Like you want to try to hit every body part. Obviously, if you're a goalie, mostly using legs would be beneficial to get blood flow in your legs, but really anything that's going to make you sweat and that's going to loosen you up. So the front lunges, it's going to open up your hips too. And then once that's done, it kind of takes into consideration those two. So then you can go into mobilizing, and that's the goalies love doing mobility. So that's where you do it. All right, quad stretches, glute stretches, calf stretches, knee hugs, arm circles. Like there's so many you can do, but just moving your body dynamically, doing some dynamic stretching. And once that's done, you can go into more explosive stuff. So fast twitch, using your fast twitch muscles as much as possible. So sprints, jump squats, jump lunges, skater jumps. Again, I think we can also put that protocol in the comments or whatever, however you want to put it out there, Cal. But you can pick and choose everything you want to do in here from each of those three steps. And like I said down here, like it doesn't have to be a crazy long routine. The goal is to be as efficient as possible. So if your routine is 10 minutes, well, you get to spend more time on other stuff that you think are valuable too, like your nutrition, like your sleep, like spending time with family, with friends. Like it's not about doing an hour-long warm-up. Like that's not going to be beneficial. You're going to be more exhausted from doing your warm-up. First thing that comes to mind, nothing against what we did in college, but our warm-up was very, very long. And you get to the end and sure, you're very warmed up, but at the same time, it drains you a little bit mentally of having to go through that same warm-up over and over again. So if you can simplify it as much as possible so that you're consistent with it, which wasn't a problem because we do it as a team, we had to do it. But if you're on your own and you struggle with consistency, again, the word consistency is the most important. Well, just simplify simplify as much as possible, and then build from there. If you think you could feel better after your warm up, well, you just do sprints, add jump squats. And then you think you're not firing enough, add jump lunges. Never make your routine more than 10 or 15 minutes. Like you're not getting anything out of it. I don't know if you have anything else to add to this, Cal.
Yeah, I will say at Clarkson, I do remember for a while there us making a joke that we scored first every game, so maybe there was a method to that madness. But uh, but I will say too, the kind of saying the consistency thing is no, you're going to play away games. So let's say at your home rink, you got your gym, your full gym set up, and you can ride a bike. You can, I don't know, all this other equipment. Let's just use the bike as an example. You normally you want to ride the bike every game, but that's only at your home games. So maybe you need to edit your routine to that. You're doing like high knees, more of a dynamic kind of lunges, stuff like that. That's kind of what I noticed is like, hey, when I go to an away game, I'm going to be maybe in a confined little space that they have no room to warm up. How is it that I can make my warm up the same wherever I'm at, and getting the most out of it? And again, that's the consistency and just making it easy to do. And like Frank said, don't make it something you dread. Like do the stuff you like. Like if you hate riding the bike and you'd rather be like doing high knees and butt kicks and just like kind of moving around, do that. You don't need to ride the bike. There's always substitutes, so find what you like. I think that's a big thing too.
Yeah. No, it comes back to the principle versus method idea I was talking about earlier. Like if you know that you need those 3 steps, throw in any exercise you want in there. It's just going to be as good.
Because at the end of the day, you got to think, hey, I'm probably going out on the ice in 30-ish minutes. Like,
yeah,
we're playing hockey because it's fun. You don't want to be 30 minutes before going, oh, this is the worst part of my day.
Yeah.
So have some fun with it. I think that's why some guys like to play sewer. Like,
yeah,
some guys are, some guys aren't. That kind of ties into that. Is just like do something that gets you going, that does the right thing for your body, that you also enjoy.
1000%.
Awesome. Now we'll kind of go into a couple sleep related questions. Hear a lot of mixed feelings about napping currently. Is napping beneficial for performance pregame? If so, how will nap be? If not, why not?
I mean, it is beneficial. I would say 99% of athletes don't sleep enough. You look, one great study that came out in the last few years, I don't remember when, came out of Stanford. It was a basketball team, and they took the whole team at the beginning of the season, made them shoot free throws, and I'm going to mess up the numbers now, but I want to say every player shot 10 free throw, and they took the average of everyone, and their average was 7 out of 10. And at the end of the year, after changing just one thing, they did the same test again, and their free throw went up 1 point, so went up to 8 out of 10. So that's a bigger than 10% increase in free throw percentage by changing just one thing. And it was the quantity of their sleep. They went from sleeping, I think, 8 hours to 10 hours. But what you got to realize is that you're not actually sleeping 10 hours. Like you go to bed, it takes you time to fall asleep. You wake up throughout the night. If you have a Whoop, by the way, we're gonna link the Whoop. It's a good way to become aware of how your sleep is. You just can't get too obsessed about it. But it's going to show you that you're awake throughout the night. So you go to bed at, let's say 10 p.m., you wake up at 8. Well, you're not actually getting 10 hours of sleep. You're maybe getting 9.5 if your sleep is really, really good. If you're only awake for 30 minutes. See some of my athletes that are awake for like an hour and a half throughout the night, and then they're like they don't understand why they're so tired even though they slept 9 hours. That's why the whoop is so important. But what I'm getting to is that their sleep score went up because the quantity of sleep alone is so important. So if you feel sleep deprived, obviously you need to fix the quality of your sleep if you're awake for an hour and a half, but then also just sleep more. So if you need to take naps, take naps. And that brings me to a graph that I think is going to be beneficial for you guys to see. So when you wake up, and disregard the bottom here, we're not going to talk about that today. Caffeine, most of you guys don't have caffeine anyways. But when you wake up in the morning, you expend energy, and adenosine goes up. So adenosine is the molecule of you feeling tired. And when you go to bed at night, it goes down, so you're refreshed the next day. So most of us have games right before we go to bed. So if you take a nap, well, the adenosine is going to go down, so you're going to have more energy. So it makes sense for you to take a nap before you play. Now, if you're tired and you feel groggy when you take an hour and a half nap, well, just take a 25, 30-minute nap. That's what I used to do, like max 40 minutes. It would take me 10 minutes to fall asleep, and I would wake up feeling refreshed. So it's a power nap because you don't fall into sleep stages like REM or deep sleep. So you don't wake up feeling groggy. But if you're sleep deprived, sleep. Doesn't matter how you wake up. There's so many things you can do when you wake up. You can use breathing to wake you up. You can use a cold shower to wake you up. You can use a warm up to wake you up. Nothing's going to be more important than feeling rested when you get to your game. So yeah, naps are a thing. But again, comes back to the Sidney Crosby thing we were talking about earlier. Do you like taking naps? Like, that's the most fundamental question you got to ask yourself, because there's so many ways to do so many things. Ultimately, it's all right. Do you like it, Cal?
Yeah, and to go on that, like I kind of would do the same thing personally. Is I'd be like, say, a long bus ride, I got no sleep, have a game the next day, and I know I need a long nap. But I know that a long nap, I like come out of it groggy. I know some people feel that way. So you could look at it saying like, oh, like I can only do a power nap, and that way I come out and I don't feel tired. But in reality, like Frank's saying, you need more sleep. So just know you might have to do some more stuff when you get to the rink or whatever. So like I know, hey, like I'm gonna sleep as long as I can, and then I'm gonna take a cold shower when I get to the rink. Maybe I just need to do a little extra warm up, just get moving, something. Just adding that little thing to your routine and planning ahead before your nap, going, all right, hey, like I gotta take a cold shower and maybe ride the bike for an extra 5 minutes.
Mm.
That is way more valuable than saying like, oh, I can only sleep 30 minutes because that's the recommended time to sleep so I don't feel groggy. So I think that's a big thing to think about. You can always, like he said, you can always wake yourself up in different ways. But going in that same thing, I mean, you kind of touched on it. What should be a proper bedtime routine after a long day of training? 2 ice sessions, one workout. How many hours of sleep? What time should devices be turned off before bed? How much time should my last meal before I go to bed be apart?
Yeah, there's a lot to go over here. Obviously, talked about the quantity of sleep. Like, you want to have at least 8 hours a night. That's a non-negotiable. And then to fix the quality of your sleep, talked about pre-bed routine. Could be really anything that gets you relaxed, but the number one thing you can do that's super easy to implement is your environment. So again, I'm gonna share my screen. So light is by far the most important thing you can tweak in your environment. So technically, sun goes up, sun goes down And when sun goes down, it triggers the release of hormones in your body that tells you, okay, it's time to go to bed. But if you have light around you, well, it keeps it from happening. It keeps that flow from happening. So you stay awake longer. You trick your body into thinking it's still daytime. So you want to make your environment dimmer before bed. You want to use warmer lights, red lights. Maybe you want to go outside when the sun sets. So it triggers, it tells your body, okay, it's time to go to bed. Those are all things that are really important regarding light. And then I think one of the questions was meals, Cal.
Yeah, difference between meal and bedtime. How much time in between?
So the most important thing is going to be for you to go to bed and you're not hungry. So ideally, in uh, the best scenario, you're you're having dinner 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed, so that you're not full, but you're not digesting while you're going to bed either. But if you're hungry, you got to eat something like a yogurt with fruits and granola, something super light. You don't want to have a super big portion, but it's worse to go to bed hungry than to go to bed like with some food in your stomach. So that's something to keep in mind. And to get back to to the environment here, that's part of the like I want to say like 40 things I give my athletes that they should fix in their lifestyle. So I have environment, I have food, I have exercise, that all affects sleep. So that's the environment part of it. So your room temperature, is it that cold? Like your body's temperature needs to go down for you to fall asleep. What about the noise in your room? Is it quiet? If not, just put earplugs in or use white noise. Then light, we just touched on it. But dim light at night, wearing blue light glasses, seeing morning light, so it tells your body it's awake, and then your clock starts so that when you get closer to the end of the day, you're able to fall asleep. Seeing a lot of daylight throughout the day too uh, is huge. Then the how comfortable your bedding is, your mattress, your pillow, and the material of everything. And then is your room clean? If your room's cluttered, I think there's I think there's a saying, Cal. Cluttered head, cluttered room, cluttered environment. Anyways, like your environment's cluttered, your head's gonna be like messy. Your thoughts are gonna be messy. You're gonna be more anxious. So if you clean your room, everything's clean around you, not only from a mental standpoint, but like the dust, like all everything around you affects your sleep. So you want to make sure it's as clean as possible. But again, like I'll be able to link all these little habits, but there's so much more from this a mental standpoint too. If you're someone that thinks a lot before bed, journaling is a huge one. Just getting your thoughts out on paper, um, just being more aware of everything that affects your sleep can be huge to enhancing your sleep without becoming too obsessed about it. Obviously, you don't want a bedtime routine that's going to take 3 hours. It's going to make you more nervous than not, more anxious than not. It's like the warm up we just talked about. You want it to be small as possible. My bedtime routine is 15-20 minutes. I read before bed and I go to bed. I put my eye mask on, I put tape on my mouth, and see you later. I'll see you tomorrow. So you want to make it as simple as possible so you can keep it consistent and sustainable.
Awesome. So yeah, the next one we got here is kind of going away from sleep. It's what are the key supplements that athletes should be having on a daily? Also, what are extra supplements that are the next step after the basics?
All right. I love this one. I love supplements. I've been taking supplements since I was 15 years old. I moved to Colorado and I wasn't too sure if the food I was going to get was going to give me all the micronutrients I needed, like I mentioned earlier. So I was taking a multivitamin, an omega-3, that covered most of my bases. So that's exactly what I would say is most important. First of all, is your nutrition on point? Do you have enough protein? Do you have enough carbs? Do you have uh, enough veggies, enough healthy fats, omega 3s? A lot of guys, a lot of athletes I talk to don't have fish. Well, if you don't have fish, you need to supplement with an omega 3. Like your brain, in big part, is made from fat. So if you have trouble mentally, whatever it may be, omega 3 might be the best thing you can do, especially if you don't have fish. But always go for food first. I know a lot of people don't consider like protein powders as supplements, but they are. Like you supplement with a protein powder, having protein is a supplement that's huge too. So once your nutrition's taken care of, my four um, my four foundational supplements that I've always taken on a consistent basis is a good multivitamin, a good omega 3, a good magnesium, a good vitamin D. Again, we touched on vitamin D shortly for like mushrooms earlier, but vitamin D, you get it from the sun. And like some places, especially during the winter, it's hard to get enough vitamin D. So you wanna take a supplement or just spend a lot of time outside and strip down. But I doubt you want to do that when it's 0 degrees outside. So yeah, that's what I would say. I also have a link to a company I've been using, and they offer like the cleanest supplements, third party tested and all that stuff. It's Designs for Health. And you got to be really careful too with supplements. Like a lot of supplements put extra stuff in there, and they're not very reliable. What they put on the bottle isn't actually what's in them. Like melatonin supplements, they came out with studies with melatonin supplements with 100 times the amount that there is on in the bottle. So on the label. So you want to be really careful. So that's why I partnered with Designs for Health to make sure to offer quality products. So to answer the second part of that question, after that, once that's taken care of, there's some like well-researched supplements like creatine. It's one of the best supplements you can take for your performance, especially as a hockey player that does a lot of high intensity interval. Um, so you go on the ice and you push hard for a minute and a half and then come back to the bench. Same thing for a goalie, quick bursts of action. And that's what creatine's for. It gives you energy for those quick bursts. 0 to 10 seconds, your body taps into energy systems, and that energy system is creatine. So if you can saturate your muscles with creatine, it's gonna be huge for your performance. So I would say creatine. Then there's caffeine. Then there's a bunch of other ones, but um, I think I think you got plenty on your plate with the foundations and the creatine if you want to. Again, if you're consistent with those ones first, then move on. But those should be taken consistently first before you hop on any other supplements.
And yeah, just so you, you guys know, we mentioned a couple of the things. Again, if you go to for anyone new, I guess, you go to the classroom tab, partnership discounts. That's where you'll find stuff like Frank's talking. We got Whoop, Adapt, and Designs for Sport supplements right now. And we wouldn't add these partnerships if we didn't trust them or use them ourselves. So take advantage of those, so you guys can get a little discount because you guys are members and get the right stuff that you need. So if you haven't checked that out, go check it out. See what's available there for you guys to get because you guys are members. Next up, oh, actually, before I go to the next question, one thing I do remember you saying that I was actually stuck in my head is it's called a supplement for a reason. Like you're supplementing your nutrition. So I think that's a big thing is like, hey, you're not gonna go take a magic supplement that's gonna make you skate faster and recover better. So I think that's just one thing when you think about when you start diving into supplements is like, hey, am I just trying to find an easy way out to make me feel better? Do I need to look at my nutrition more? So always keep that in mind when you're looking to add a bunch of supplements. Make sure you're doing the right stuff first. Next up, hey guys, I want to know your opinion about social media on game day. Do you guys think it's affecting our game, reaction time on the ice for making decisions, plays, etc.?
Um, I mean, anytime you're on social media, there's a few aspects to it. You're on social media, you're comparing yourself, lots going on without you being consciously aware of it, and I think that could be dangerous. You're comparing yourself, maybe it changes your mood. That's one of the reasons why I would stay away from it. Um, and then just being on social media just drains you. Um, just scrolling is just stripping away all motivation you have. Like it keeps you hooked. Um, Mechanisms, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly why, but I think we all feel that way. Like we start scrolling, it feels good in the moment, but then once you stop, it's like, ugh, you kind of feel blah. You don't feel very good, and in big parts because of dopamine, and that's a totally other subject that we could dive into later on. But yeah, it's a decision and it drains your energy. So I don't see how that would be beneficial. An alternative you could go towards would be like long form content. So YouTube videos, Netflix shows, kind of a mindless thing that I used to do, or motivational videos. So I remember um, before my nap, I would always watch like Tom Brady, for example. He had a show called Tom versus Time on Facebook. Go ahead to watch it; it's amazing. And I would watch it over and over again because it inspired me. It motivated me for my game to be ready to go. And I went for my nap, and I woke up and I felt great. So you want to implement things that actually give you energy rather than just strip away all the energy or the motivation you have. So yeah, I would steer away from social media as much as possible for those two reasons. So comparing yourself, and then the obvious energy it's stripping away from you. I don't know if you have any other like ideas around it, Cal, or what you do personally.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all kind of opinion. Like, I don't necessarily have a science or any facts to back this up, but I guess I'm a firm believer in it. Is um, like when I get to the rink, I put my phone away and I don't touch
Yeah,
it until I'm pretty much in the car. When I get out, I know there's other times on game days you're at home and stuff like that, but I think it can be an easy like distractor. I've always thought it was crazy when I see teammates like 5 to 10 minutes after the game by their stall on their phone, and I'm just like thinking, oh my, like you're not thinking about your game. I think it's just a distractor. It's another thing that's gonna make you lose your focus. And I think if you start that habit right now, like I'm never even thinking. I've done it for so long that I'm never even thinking about having my phone at the
mm,
when I'm at the rink specifically. Yeah, there's probably other times that I need to be better on not being on my phone, but the rink, I've never like wanting to go on my phone really at all because I've kind of established that habit of just putting it away. Like, hey, I'm at the rink, focus on hockey.
yeah. You mentioned a good one too, like the focus. It's just a distraction. If you're used to having your phone on you all the time and checking it all the time, even if it's not at the rink, you're almost gonna panic when you're at the rink and you don't have your phone around. So you want to, yeah, you want to build boundaries around your phone, when you use it, how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's a big one.
All right, last question. I know this got a couple likes, so save the best for last here. Um, when having an off day, I find myself just laying in bed and getting super stiff. What are maybe 3 to 5 key things I should be doing on a rest day so I'm energized and ready for the week at practice?
the foundations. So anytime I talk to my athletes and they ask me what they should do for a certain day, it's a mix of all the foundations. So what are you going to do for your mindset? What are you going to do for your sleep? What are you going to do for your hydration? What about your nutrition? A workout, physical recovery, and stress management. So if you can nail down all of these things throughout your day off, well, like I showed earlier, you're going to recover better and be better from that day off. You're not just going to be worse from not doing anything, because not doing anything isn't the way to approach a day off. Like, you want to replenish physically, mentally, emotionally, socially. Those are all things that are important. So um, what I tell a lot of my athletes, and what's worked really well for me, is spending time outside, for example. That's a big one. So you spend time outside, you're taking care of your exercising, your workouts, kind of, and then being with other people, the social part of it, and being outside is in nature is great for stress management. So you're taking care of those two things. Something else you can do is yoga. Yoga is a great exercise, great physical recovery, stretching. It's also a form of mindfulness, of breathing. It's going to help your sleep. Um, After that, just staying on top of hydration. Like I mentioned at the start of this talk, like, do you have half your body weight in ounces of water per day? Like, even more, well, not even more important, just as important on a day off as it is when you work out, when you have a game, when you have practice. Staying on top of all those foundations is what's going to make a day off better. That's the day off is going to set you up for a great next week. So you don't want to just sit in bed and do nothing. You want to actively do something, whether it's yoga for 30 minutes, going outside, drinking enough water, um, eating a lot of fruits and veggies. Maybe when you have game days, you don't eat as much of those because they're harder to digest. So on those days off, your meals have more color, have more fiber, have more protein, have complex carbs instead of just simple. That's going to help bring down the inflammation so that you can recover faster. There's so many aspects, and you really have to go on a case by case basis to know exactly what that person should be doing. And it always comes back to the same thing. What do you want to do? What do you want to do on your day off? Because ultimately that's what's going to be best. And then you can work around that to use what you want to do and make it as efficient as possible for your recovery as well. So, I mean, 3 to 5 key things, that just the foundations. Just look at the foundations. If you don't know what the foundations are, by the way, we have a course on the foundations that you can look at. It's going to give you more ideas, but definitely just ask more questions about them, or book a coaching call with me that we can dive deeper and set an action plan and to achieve that day off, that optimal day off. Like, that's something I do with my clients also. So yeah, I hope that answers that question. Cal, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Yeah, I threw a reply in there for my kind of day off philosophy, but I think kind of what you said too is just make the day feel productive and enjoyable. Like
Mm-hmm.
obviously when you get the off day, you're kind of the goal is you want to relax because
Yeah.
for the most part you've been going hard at the rink with workouts and stuff like that. So you're kind of like, oh, okay, I get a day to mentally and physically relax. At the same point, if you can find something that you enjoy that makes it feel like you weren't just sitting on the couch all day, then that just makes your day, when you go to the rink the next day, you're like, oh, I didn't just waste the day yesterday. Like even if it's something as simple as, like, for me, maybe I go get my groceries done or do laundry, like something small where it's like, okay, hey, at least I checked off something. Um, but again, yeah, make it enjoyable. Maybe it's for me, I like to cook. Maybe I get to sleep in a little bit and make myself a nicer breakfast when usually I gotta do a grab and go on my way to the rink. Something small like that where you're just like, oh, like I don't get to do this as much. maybe break my routine in a positive way so that you kind of get some new, I don't know, energy or just kind of something to shake it up, but doing it in a positive and enjoyable way, I think is the biggest part versus where you don't want to look back at the end of your day going, wow, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, 1,000%. Great point.
But that's it for the questions. I think that was great. I think this is for anyone watching, watch this again maybe 2 or 3 times. Frank has given you guys a lot of good info here that I think even I mean, I'm sitting here listening to, thinking of stuff that I could add into my routines and stuff like that. So take advantage. I think this was awesome. We'll probably do it again based on the way this went. I think it was awesome. But so keep asking those questions, guys. And that's it for me for this Q&A. Frank, I don't know if you have any closing remarks.
Just go one thing at a time. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Like, you can be consistent if you try to implement everything in here. Like, we talked for what, an hour and 15 now. So just take away one thing. Obviously, it's one question. So maybe one question is more interesting to you, and you're like, oh yeah, this is probably going to help me a lot. So just pick that question, use one key idea, implement it, see how it works, and then tweak it. But try it for a couple of weeks before deciding if it works or not for you. I think that's a mistake we all make. We try to do everything at once, and then we don't know what works. So again, that's that, and then focus on the foundation. I said it in the middle of the talk, and I think that's a great way to end. The message with Stride, the message with the community is to consistently get out of your comfort zone and to focus on the little things. So it's going to be uncomfortable to make a change, but you need to make that change to grow, to get better. So it might be hard now, but your body, yourself later is going to thank you for that change you're making now, and then focusing on the little things. Everything we talked about, Cal and I, today was about the foundation, everything you have control over. So keep asking those questions, keep taking care of the foundation, and the confidence you're looking for, the motivation, all these things are going to come from focusing on that foundation. So no, it went super well. It was super fun to do this. I love the questions too. Like it's exactly why we set up this community, to be able to help. And I really, really, really hope we were able to do that today, and keep asking questions, and we'll keep answering them.
Awesome. I think that's it.
Thanks, guys.